The first time I saw her that night, she looked like a queen sitting at the wrong table. The restaurant was one of those fancy downtown places where the napkins are folded like origami and the water glasses never go empty. I was only there because my crew had finished a long day on a renovation 3 blocks away, and I wanted one good drink before I went home to my small, quiet apartment. I should have kept walking. Instead, I saw her. Vivian Lopez, my ex's mom. Back straight, chin up, black dress, simple and sharp. Candlelight turned her skin warm gold, but it did not touch the tight way she held herself. Her hands were folded in her lap. One finger kept pressing into the edge of the napkin, over and over, like she was pinning herself to the chair. Her water glass was full of melted ice. No food on the table. No other chair pulled out. She was alone. I felt my stomach pull tight. Vivian had always been calm, in control. Even when I was a broke carpenter dating her daughter, she never talked down to me. She asked real questions. She listened. She knew more about deals and buildings and people than anyone I had ever met. Seeing her alone on a blind date table, waiting, made something in my chest burn. The front door opened. Cold air rolled in around my boots. A man in a cheap gray suit stepped inside and scanned the room like he owned it. When he saw Vivian, he smiled too wide and walked too fast. Of course it was him. Philip Monroe, real estate developer. The kind of man who called pressure strategy and called fear motivation. I had seen his name on bad contracts more than once. I had ripped out half-finished work on projects he abandoned to save money. Vivian, he said when he reached her table. She stood, but she didn't hug him. She gave him her hand, like it was a job interview, not a date. Philip, she answered. Her voice was smooth, but her jaw was tight. My fists curled at my sides. I was still in my gray t-shirt, still smelling like sawdust and cedar oil, standing at the bar pretending I was only there for a drink. Philip sat without pulling out her chair. Vivian waited until he was done, then sat down herself. Small detail. Big message. A server poured wine. Philip barely looked up. He pulled a thick folder out of his bag and slid it across the table. Let's keep this simple, he said. You sell me the Ashlin building tonight. We sign. I make your headaches disappear. So this wasn't just a bad date. This was a setup. Vivian's thumb rubbed the seam of her clutch. It was the only sign she was feeling anything. I'm not selling, she said. Philip's smile didn't move, but his eyes went hard. Then you're choosing the hard way. I'm choosing my way, she answered. I felt that line in my bones. He leaned in, lowering his voice just enough that he thought no one else could hear. Permits. Liens. Missing deliveries. Delays. It's not personal, Vivian. It's business. If you want peace, you sign. Vivian lifted her chin a little. The candlelight caught her mouth. You don't chase people this hard unless you want something they won't give you, she said softly. Philip's eyes narrowed. Then he noticed me at the bar. Bradley, he called, acting surprised. Small world. I walked over before I could talk myself out of it. My boots were loud against the tile. My heart was steady. I looked at Vivian, not him, at the way she held that napkin like a lifeline. Does he even know what makes you happy? I asked her quietly. Her eyes flashed a warning. Then they softened, just a little. She was not embarrassed to be seen with him. She was angry to be cornered by him. This isn't the place, Philip snapped. Vivian set her napkin on the table very slowly, like she was putting down a knife. This is exactly the place, she said. Because you like witnesses. Philip forced a laugh. Fine. Witnesses. Here's the deal. He tapped the folder. You are out of time. The bank is nervous. I step in, I save you. Or I step away and watch you drown. He tipped his head toward me. And your contractor boyfriend cannot pull you out of this one. I'm not selling, Vivian repeated. She pushed the folder back across the table with 2 fingers. We're done. She stood. This time she didn't wait for him. She just rose and turned toward the door. You'll see me in court, Philip called after her. I'll see you before that, she said over her shoulder, calm and clear. She walked out. I followed. Outside, the rain had turned to a fine mist. Streetlights painted the wet pavement in gold streaks. Vivian stopped under a lamp and finally let out the breath she had been holding all night. You shouldn't have done that, she said, not looking at me. I couldn't just stand there and watch him corner you, I replied. He wasn't cornering me, she said, turning her head. He was checking if I would fold. I didn't. For a second, The steel in her eyes made me forget she was my ex's mom, and remember, she was her own person first. Then, softer, she added, "But thank you." The restaurant door opened again. Another man stepped out. Older, silver hair, sharp dark eyes, suit that actually fit. He moved like he had spent a lifetime reading contracts and never once been impressed by a bully. "Saul," Vivian said. "Philip approached you here?" he asked, like they had already spoken. "Yes," she answered. Saul's jaw flexed. "All right," he said. "We pivot." He looked at me. "You're Bradley, the one on Ashlin." "Yes, sir," I said. His gaze was quick and clean. "Tomorrow, 7 a.m., he said. "You walk the building with Vivian. You tell her the truth. Every time. Even when it's ugly." I nodded. "You'll get it." He turned back to Vivian. "And I need documentation," he said. "Photos. Timestamps. Receipts. If something feels off, don't call it a mistake. Call me." "Philip watches everything I do," Vivian said. "Then we stopped giving him fog," Saul replied. The next morning, the Ashlin building smelled like wet brick and old wood. It had tall windows, high ceilings, and a worn beauty that most developers would just see as a problem. I saw bones. Good bones. But the work inside was a mess. Warped studs. Crooked framing. Wrong screws where structural hardware should have been. It was not just sloppy. It was dangerous. Vivian stood in the middle of it in black jeans and boots, plans rolled under one arm. Sandalwood perfume cut through the dust and damp. She looked at me like she wanted numbers, not comfort. "Well?" she asked. I pointed at the first beam. "That header isn't bearing," I said. "Those studs are not anchored to anything that can hold their load. And whoever did that electrical should never touch a wire again." Vivian did not panic. She did not sigh. She wrote. "Fastest way to keep the second floor from sagging?" she asked. "Temporary shoring. Steel posts. A support wall until we can replace that beam," I said. "Do it," she answered. She flipped to a list. "These invoices say we paid for hardware, treated lumber, structural ties," she said. "But the deliveries do not match." My jaw tightened. "That's not a mistake," I said. "That's theft." "Philip recommended the original contractor," Vivian said quietly. I crouched near the corner where the security conduit ran up the wall. The cable had a clean cut. Not chewed. Not broken. Cut. "Your cameras are dead," I said. Vivian did not look surprised. "Philip had them disconnected before you came on the job," she replied. "He didn't want a record when they tried to push me." "Then how do we prove anything?" I asked. She opened her tote and pulled out a small camo-colored case. "I installed this behind the freight elevator," she said. "Battery-powered. Motion-activated. Trail camera." I didn't tell Saul yet. I stared at her for a second, then nodded slowly. "Good," I said. "Then we make sure it sees everything." That was the moment I realized this was not just about saving a building. It was about standing next to a woman who refused to break, even while someone like Philip tried to take everything from her. And the more I watched Vivian work, the more one thought dug into my chest and refused to leave. My ex never really knew what her mother needed. But I was starting to. Vivian showed up the next morning before my crew, like she was daring the building to argue with her. The sky was low and gray. The Ashlin sat on the corner like an old soldier, brick damp from the night's rain. I unlocked the door and pushed it open. Wet wood, dust, and cold air rushed out to meet us. Vivian stepped inside first. Black jeans, work boots, dark hair pulled back, plans under her arm. Not the woman in the black dress from the restaurant. This was the version of her I knew from years ago. Focused, serious, sharp. "Show me everything," she said. I walked her through the first floor. "That header is not really carrying weight," I said, pointing. "Whoever framed it just nailed into drywall and prayed." She looked up, pen ready. "How do we fix it?" "Temporary wall here," I said. "Steel posts there. New beam, real bearing. No cheating." "Do it," she answered. We moved to the back stair. "Those stringers are wrong," I said. "The cuts are too deep. One bad step, someone could go through it." Vivian wrote again, calm. "Replace," she said. "Full run. No patching." We checked the invoices against what was actually in the building. She sat on an upside-down bucket with her notebook, reading numbers while I called out what I saw. "Invoice says treated lumber, 2 by 12, 20 pieces," she said. I walked the stacks. "On site, we have 12 pieces," I answered. 8 are regular lumber. Untreated. She tapped a line on the paper. Hardware, heavy-duty brackets, 50 count. I opened a dusty box. These are light-duty. Half the load rating. Wrong product, wrong price. Her jaw tightened. This contractor was Philip's referral, she said quietly. I crouched by the wall where the security cable was supposed to be. I ran my fingers along the conduit. Your cameras are dead, I said. This cable is cut. Clean. Not broken. Not chewed. A blade. She did not look surprised. He had them disconnected when the first crew was still here, she said. He told me cameras make workers nervous. I looked up at her. And you believed him? She met my eyes. I believed him long enough to install my own, where he did not know to look. She opened her tote and pulled out a small camo-colored device. Trail camera. Battery-powered. Motion sensor. The kind hunters strap to trees. I stared. You put this in? I asked. Behind the freight elevator, she said. High corner. It sees the shoring wall and the back door. A slow heat moved through my chest. Not attraction yet. Respect. Good, I said. We leave it there. We do our work like normal. And we watch. By midday my crew was in full swing. Saws whining. Hammers hitting. The building started to sound like it wanted to live again. At noon, Vivian dragged 2 pizza boxes onto a plank laid across sawhorses. Lunch, she said. I wiped my hands on a rag and opened the lid. Half jalapeno, half anchovies, I said. That is a crime. It is efficient, she replied. You hate one side, I hate the other. We do not steal from each other. I snorted. Fair. We ate standing up, dust in the air, sunlight slanting in through the tall windows. She took the anchovy slices like they were nothing. I watched her for a second, then looked away before she could catch me. In the afternoon, I built the shoring wall we had talked about. Steel posts. Straight lines. Real screws. No shortcuts. Vivian followed with her phone, taking photos of each stage. Footings. Brackets. Labels. I need this level of detail, she asked. You do, I said. If something goes wrong, we show this. We prove what we did was right. She nodded once, like a person who understood what proof meant. The crew left at 6. The light went gray-blue. The building got quiet. Go home, Bradley. My foreman called as he left. I will, I lied. I stayed. I wanted to set one last door latch before the storm they said was coming. As I ran my hand along the frame, a sharp pain hit my palm. Damn, I muttered. Splinter. Sit. Vivian said behind me. I'm fine, I answered. Sit, she repeated. Her tone did not rise, but my body listened. I sat on the workbench. She pulled a small metal case from her bag and flipped it open. Tweezers. Antiseptic. Bandages. Architect kit. I asked. Model making, she said. Tiny knives and balsa wood. You either learn to pull splinters or bleed on everything. She took my hand, palm up. Her fingers were cool and firm. She leaned in and searched for the splinter with calm eyes. Tell me if I hurt you, she said. You won't, I replied. She pinched once. The splinter slid out. Quick, clean. She dabbed the spot with antiseptic. The sting was nothing. The feeling of her thumb pressing gently into my palm was everything. Done, she said. Thank you, I said quietly. She didn't let go right away. Her thumb brushed across the rough skin once, like she was memorizing it. Then she stepped back. Trail camera, she said. We should check it. We went to the makeshift office by the old ticket window. She set her laptop on a folding table and slid the camera's card into the slot. The screen filled with clips. Empty hallway. Motion. A raccoon. My crew. Me moving materials. Then, one night, a figure coming in through the side door long after hours. Philip. Cap low. Coat collar up. Moving like he knew exactly where he was going. He walked straight to our shoring wall. He looked up at the beam. Then he looked around once. Slow. Careful. He pulled a drill from his pocket. He unscrewed one of the brace plates I had installed. He held it in his hand. Then he smiled. Not big. Just a sharp little half smile. He slid the plate into his coat. The clip ended. My hands went cold and hot at the same time. He is trying to make your work look unsafe, Vivian said. Her voice was quiet and tight. He is trying to make someone get hurt, I said. We clicked to the next night. Another man this time. One of the old crew. Swapping out long structural screws for shorter ones while Philip stood in the shadows watching. Vivian sat back slowly. Her face did not fall apart. It sharpened. He will say this is fake, she said. Then we make it impossible to ignore, I replied. How? She asked. Supply, I said. Warehouse logs. Security cameras. He is not smart enough to do this alone in the dark. He needed help. And Saul, Vivian added. I nodded. And Saul. The next morning, Saul met us at Monroe Supply in a jacket and dark tie, phone already in his hand. The warehouse smelled like diesel and cardboard. Forklifts beeped in the aisles. Men in vests moved pallets like chess pieces. A man in a black polo came out of the small office. Mr. Feldman, he said, respect in his eyes. Eddie, Saul said. We need your loading bay video for the last 3 weeks and the access log for after-hours entries. Under your login, not a guest account. Eddie hesitated. That is sensitive, he said. Corporate will not like it. Saul's voice stayed calm. Corporate is about to be dragged into court, he said. You can either show that you helped fix a problem, or you can let them blame you for hiding it. Eddie swallowed. Come on, he said. I did not see anything. In the security room, he logged into the system with his own credentials. Cameras popped up. Bay 1, Bay 2, Bay 3. There. Phillips' SUV rolling into Bay 3 at 11:47 p.m. on a Tuesday. Philip stepping out. A worker carrying a box to him. Heavy hardware box. The same brand we had on our site. A badge swipe flashed on the screen. Time, date, employee name. That is one, Saul said. Print the still. Export that clip. Eddie clicked, fingers shaking a little. He moved to another night. Another visit. Same bay. Different worker. Same pattern. When he was done, Saul had a folder of printed stills, a USB drive of clips, and a copy of the access log with the suspicious entries highlighted. Eddie looked between us. Am I in trouble? He asked. No, Saul said. You just moved yourself to the right side of this. Saul slipped him a card. If anyone tries to put this on you, call me. Back in the parking lot, the wind cut across the concrete. Vivian hugged her coat closer, but her shoulders were not hunched anymore. They were square. You just watched him try to break your building, I said. I did, she answered. And now we have proof. Saul tucked the folder under his arm. Now, he said, eyes colder than I had ever seen them. We set the trap. I looked at Vivian. At the woman my ex had called too intense. At the woman Philip thought he could scare into selling. At the woman standing beside me, steady, while the wind tried to push us off balance. I realized I was already standing where I wanted to be when the trap finally closed. The trap did not spring the way I expected. Philip did not show up the next day with papers and threats. Instead, a white city truck rolled up to the curb while my crew was unloading lumber. A man in a safety vest stepped out, clipboard in hand, expression already annoyed. Morning, he called. We had multiple reports about unsafe conditions on this site. I need to inspect. My foreman swore under his breath. My youngest guy went pale. 2 weeks earlier, this would have rattled me. Now I just wiped my hands on a rag and walked over. Good morning, I said. I'm Bradley Wright, contractor of record. You are. He showed his badge. Different name. Not our usual inspector. Martin, he said. If I see violations, I can shut you down today. Behind me, I heard Vivian's steps. She had just arrived. Boots, jacket, hair in a knot. She took one look at his badge and moved closer, phone already in her hand. He is not our regular contact, she murmured to me. Then we treat him like someone with power and no context. I said quietly. We give him facts, not attitude. She nodded once. Walk me through, Martin said. I led him inside. I did not argue. I did not try to charm him. I just showed him everything. Here are the permits, I said, pointing to the plastic sleeve on the wall. Demo, structural, electrical. All current. He checked them, pen tapping against the clipboard. We reached the shoring wall. Who designed this? He asked. I did, I said, based on the engineer's drawings. We have a stamped letter on file. I can pull it up. His eyebrows rose. He was not used to small contractors saying stamped letter. Vivian stepped closer. I can email it to you while you are on site, she said. Our engineer is responsive. Martin glanced at her, at the phone in her hand, pointed at the permits, not at his face. Do that, he said. We moved on. He checked fire extinguishers, exit paths, the temporary electrical panel. I pointed out the box fan with a filter we were using for dust control. Negative pressure zone, I said. Keeps dust from drifting. He tested it. It worked. We looped back to the door. He looked over his notes and let out a small breath. You have been reported 3 times this week, he said. Anonymous complaints. They said you had unbraced openings and exposed wiring. We did, I said. For about 4 hours each time while we were actively working. Never left overnight. Everything is either finished or safely blocked. Vivian spoke, calm. Were those reports made before or after we replaced the original contractor? She asked. Martin did not answer. His silence was enough. No stop work today, he said finally. Keep your documentation tight. We will, I said. When he left, my foreman let out a long breath. That was Philip, he muttered. Yes, Vivian said. He is trying to drain me with fear. Then we stay boring and correct, I said. He needs chaos. We give him receipts. We spent the rest of the day building our own shield. Vivian walked the site with a label maker and her phone. She photographed serial numbers on hardware boxes, stamped grade marks on beams, date codes on treated lumber. What are you doing? My apprentice asked. Making a spine, she said. He looked confused. I understood. A building stands because loads have somewhere to go. A case stands because facts have somewhere to land. She was giving the truth a path. Philip did not come himself the next day. He sent a man. I found the stranger leaning against the doorway, hands in his pockets, eyes too relaxed. Can I help you? I asked. He smiled. Name is Carter, he said. I work with Philip. I am just here to make sure the work lives up to the Ashlin's reputation. You are not with the city, I said. No, he admitted. Then you are trespassing, I replied. You need to leave. He laughed. You do not want a second set of eyes. We already have an engineer and an inspector, I said. You are not on that list. Vivian appeared beside me. She did not hide behind me. She stood half a step back, shoulder almost touching mine. You do not have permission to be here, she said. Please leave. Carter's eyes flicked between us. He saw the small distance. He saw the weight of it. You should read your mail, Vivian, he said softly. Deadlines are coming fast. Then send it to my lawyer, she answered. We are done talking in doorways. His smile thinned. He pushed off the frame. This building will never open, he said. That sounds like a threat, I replied. That sounds like an opinion, he corrected and walked away. When he was gone, Vivian blew out a breath. He wants us reactive, she said. Then we stay calm and lethal, I answered. Her mouth curved. Legally, she added. Legally, I agreed. The storm hit 2 nights later. Wind first. A low roar that shook the old windows. Then rain. Heavy. Relentless. The kind that made gutters overflow and roofs leak. I was at my small shop on the edge of town, putting tools away, when my phone buzzed. Vivian. I answered on the first ring. Bradley, she said. Her voice was steady but thinner than I had heard it. Something cracked upstairs. I heard it over the wind. I am on my way, I said. Bradley, the forecast says, I am on my way. I repeated and hung up. The streets shone black with water. Branches bent and slapped against my windshield. I turned the wipers up and leaned forward, the way you do when you know it will not help, but you do it anyway. The Ashlin rose out of the rain like a dark ship. Vivian stood in the doorway under the dim awning light, coat pulled tight, hair damp around her face. You beat the worst of it, I said. It sounds worse inside, she said. We went up the stairs to the second floor. The building groaned with every gust. My headlamp beam cut through the dark and landed on the shoring wall. One brace plate was gone. The post it had tied into was leaning just enough to make my muscles clench. Every time the wind hit the roof, the load shifted down into that span. Back, I snapped. Vivian stepped away without arguing, but she did not run. She planted herself by the stairwell where she could see and call if anything changed. I dropped to my knees, shoved my shoulder under the loose post, and heaved. The steel dug into my collarbone. My teeth grit. Light, I said. Vivian was at my side in 2 seconds, phone flashlight steady, hands not shaking. I fumbled in my pouch for spare hardware. I had ordered extras on purpose, the way I always did when I smelled trouble. My fingers closed around a plate and long screws. Whoever pulled this knew exactly which one, Vivian said. Philip, I answered. Or someone who takes his orders. I set the plate and drove the screws in fast, each one biting into solid wood with a satisfying grind. The wind slammed against the building again. The post pushed harder into my shoulder. Almost, I grunted. The last screw seated with a deep pull. I eased my body away, inch by inch. The post held. The wall stayed straight. The building sighed, but it did not move. Vivian exhaled hard. You just saved my building, she whispered. I shook my head. We did, I said. You were the light. I do not hit the right spot without it. A slam echoed below us. The front door. Fast footsteps on the stairs. Vivian's eyes found mine. Someone is here, she said. I moved in front of her without thinking. My headlamp cut down the stairwell, catching a figure in a wet coat coming up. Philip. Even soaked, he managed to look smug. You really should not be here in a storm, Vivian, he said. Old buildings have accidents. You should not be here at all, she answered. Her voice did not shake. His gaze slid to me. Still playing hero, Bradley? You cut the brace, I said. Not a question. He shrugged. Rot happens. Screws loosen. Gravity is cruel. We have you on camera, Vivian said. For the first time since I had known him, Philip's expression faltered. It was small, half a second, but I saw it. What camera? He asked. The one you did not know about, she said. He laughed, but it rang hollow. You think some grainy video will beat my lawyers? No, I said. The grainy video plus the warehouse footage plus the access log plus the messages your guy sent the last contractor to make my work fail will beat you. His eyes snapped to me. You do not know what you are getting into, he said. Yes, I answered. I do. You make money by breaking people. I make money by holding things up. We are not the same. Wind roared against the windows again. The whole building trembled. Philip backed down the stairs 3 steps at a time. Last chance, Vivian, he called. Sell now. Walk away clean. Selling to you, she said, is not clean. He scoffed, turned, and slammed out into the storm. We stood in the echo of it, breathing hard. Are you hurt? Vivian asked. I looked down at my hands. My knuckles were scraped raw, blood mixing with rain and dust. It is nothing, I said. Do not lie to me, she said. It hurts, I admitted. But I am fine. She stepped close, so close the storm noise became a dull roar outside the walls. He wanted you tired, she said. He wanted me scared. Then we do not give him either, I said. Her eyes searched my face. Bradley, she said quietly. Tell me to stop. I knew exactly what she meant. I will not, I answered. She rose on her toes and kissed me. It was not soft. It was not careful. It was real. Her hands fisted in the front of my wet t-shirt. Mine settled at her waist, fingers spread, holding her steady while the whole building shook. For a long second, the only thing in the world was the warmth of her mouth, the smell of rain in her hair, and the solid weight of her body pressed against mine. When she pulled back, her eyes were bright and sharp. That does not change the fact we still have to fight him, she said. No, I said. It just changes how we walk into the room. How? She asked. Together, I said. She smiled then, small and fierce. Good, she said. The next morning felt like a hangover without alcohol. Gray sky, cold air. My shirt still smelled faintly like rain and her perfume from the night before. Vivian sat beside me in the small conference room at the bank, hands folded so tight in her lap I could see the tendons in her wrists. She was in a dark blazer, hair smooth, lipstick on. Battle armor. Her knee bounced once under the table. I nudged it gently with my boot. Breathe, I said under my breath. Are you ready? She whispered back. I am more ready than he is, I said. The door opened. Saul walked in first. No tie, no nonsense. Behind him came a bank rep in a suit, 2 city inspectors, and then Philip, perfectly put together, not a single hair out of place. He smelled like expensive cologne and arrogance. He paused when he saw me sitting next to Vivian. Of course, he said. The contractor. Partner, Vivian corrected, voice calm. In the work. This is Bradley Wright. The bank rep cleared her throat. We are here to discuss concerns raised about the Ashlin renovation, she said. Cost overruns, delays, and possible safety issues. Philip smiled like the star of his own show. Exactly, he said. I have been warning you for weeks. Ms. Lopez is in over her head. The site isn't safe. The work is faulty. The bank needs to protect its investment. Saul didn't sit yet. He opened his leather folder with slow, deliberate hands. Before we talk about safety, he said, we need to talk about sabotage. The word dropped like a hammer. Philip laughed. Sabotage? That's dramatic, Saul. Saul reached into his folder and set a small drive on the table. This is trail camera footage from the Ashlin, he said. Battery powered. No network. Installed by Vivian after her first contractor disappeared. He handed the drive to the bank rep. An assistant plugged it into the big screen on the wall. The video came up. Grainy black and white. The back corridor of the building. A timestamp in the corner. We all watched as a figure in a coat and cap walked into frame and stopped at our shoring wall. He looked around once. Then he reached up, unscrewed a brace plate, slipped it into his pocket, and stepped back with a small, satisfied smile. The camera caught his face when he lifted his head. "Philip." Silence. "That's fake," he snapped immediately. "Anyone can doctor video." Saul didn't argue. He just nodded at the assistant. "Next," he said. Warehouse CCTV filled the screen. Monroe Supplies loading bay. Date stamp. Time stamp. Security cam in the corner. Philip's SUV rolled into view. He got out. A worker carried a box to him and loaded it into the back. On the monitor, a little window in the corner showed the door access log, badge swipe, user ID, time. Saul slid printed stills and a highlighted access report across the table. "Hardware," Saul said. "Same type used on the Ashlin shoring wall. Removed from stock off record. Paid for in cash from a shell account tied to Philip's development company." One of the inspectors leaned forward. "If those plates are missing during a storm, the load path fails," he said. "Someone could have been killed." Philip's face went pale, then red. "You can't prove I put anything back wrong," he said. "You can't prove intent." Saul's mouth barely moved. "We can prove a pattern," he said. He opened another folder and slid it across the table. Printed text messages. A burner. Number. A contact saved as D. Crew. One line was highlighted. "Make it look like his work fails." The room went dead still. The bank rep's voice lost all warmth. "Mr. Monroe," she said, "is this your number?" Philip's jaw clenched. "I want my lawyer," he said. "You're going to need one," Saul replied. One of the inspectors looked at Vivian. "You installed the camera?" he asked. She nodded. "I suspected something was wrong," she said. "I didn't have proof until now." He turned to the bank rep. "From a safety standpoint," he said, "the current crew has done everything right. Their shoring, their documentation, their response in last night's storm. They're the reason that building is still standing." The other inspector nodded. "We saw it ourselves 2 days ago," he said. "I was ready to shut them down if I saw anything unsafe. I didn't. But if those braces had been missing when we weren't there," he didn't finish. The bank rep closed the folder slowly, like she was sealing a coffin. "Mr. Monroe," she said, "until further notice, you are removed from any advisory role with this project. We will be reviewing all of your dealings with our portfolio. Effective immediately." Philip pushed his chair back, so hard it scraped. "You're choosing her over me?" he demanded. Vivian stood. "No," she said. "They're choosing the truth over you." He looked at her like he wanted to break something. "You really think this carpenter is going to save you?" He spit, glancing at me. I didn't rise. I didn't bite. "He's already held my roof up," Vivian said. "That's more than you've ever done." Philip laughed once, ugly and brittle, then walked out. The door closed behind him with a soft click. It sounded weaker than the slam at the restaurant. Saul sat down finally. "Congratulations," he said, looking at Vivian. "You just kicked a bully out of your life with paperwork." Her shoulders shook. I thought she might cry. She didn't. She just reached under the table and found my hand. She held it like she had held that napkin on the first night, but this time the grip wasn't fear. It was relief. Later, outside in the cold air, she turned to me. "You know you didn't have to come," she said. "I know," I replied. "Bradley," she said softly, "why are you still here?" I looked at the Ashlin behind her. At the patched brick, the new windows, the steel plates that were finally where they were supposed to be. "Because this is where the work is," I said. "And because you're here. That's enough." Her eyes warmed. "That's a good answer," she said. Weeks turned into a new routine. No more surprise inspectors. No more strange cars parked across the street. No more missing hardware. We replaced every compromised beam. The city inspectors signed off on the structure. The electrician finished his rough-in. The drywall went up clean. The day we passed final structural inspection, Vivian walked through the empty second floor with slow steps, fingers brushing the new railing. "My mother would have loved this light," she said. "Your son will too," I answered. She glanced at me. "You still think of him as my son, not your ex?" she asked. "He's both," I said. "And he's going to have opinions." "That's fine." She smiled a little. "He texted me," she said. "He wants to see the building. And to see you." "Good," I said. "You're not nervous?" I've had ceilings try to fall on me, I said. I can handle a conversation. She laughed, the sound bouncing off the fresh walls. 2 days later, I met him in the lobby. Eli looked like the younger version of her brother I'd once known, and also like a person who had done some growing since we'd last spoken. He carried a tote bag with a camera and a sketchbook. Hey, he said. Hey, I replied. We shook hands. His grip was firm. Mom loves this place, he said, looking up at the high ceiling. I haven't seen her this alive in a while. She did all the hard parts, I said. He looked at me straight. I set up that blind date, he said. With Philip. I thought I was introducing her to a good connection. Someone who could take the pressure off her. I didn't know, he trailed off. I know, I said. I'm sorry, he said. To her. And, I guess, to you. For assuming she needed a man like him, and not someone like you. I leaned against the newel post. She doesn't need me, I said. She wants me. There's a difference. He studied my face. Are you serious about her? He asked. Yes, I said. No hesitation. He nodded slowly. Okay, he said. Then don't let her talk herself into being small again. She does that when she thinks she's asking too much. I won't, I said. You have my word. He gave a short, relieved laugh. Sounds like you know her already, he said. I'm learning, I said. Vivian joined us a minute later, cheeks flushed from climbing stairs, smile soft when she saw us not fighting. We walked the building together. Eli took photos. Vivian talked about finishes and tenants and the small studio she was claiming for herself on the top floor. By the end of the week, the place smelled like fresh paint and new beginnings. On a quiet evening, when the workers were gone and the sun was low, we sat on the studio floor with a pizza box between us. Same as that first sight lunch. Jalapenos on my half. Anchovies on hers. She leaned her shoulder into mine. Do you remember what you said the first night at the restaurant? She asked. I said a few dangerous things that night, I replied. You looked at me, she said, and asked if he even knew what makes me happy. I did remember. The anger in my chest. The way she clutched the napkin like it was a lifeline. Do you? She asked now, turning her head toward me. I looked at her. Really looked. At least 3 things, I said. A building that stands because you fought for it. A fight where you are not alone. And not having to apologize for wanting all of that. She smiled, slow and honest. And she pushed. And pizza on the floor with someone who won't walk out when it gets hard, I said. Her eyes softened. That's a very specific answer, she said. It's a very specific woman, I replied. She set her slice down and shifted, swinging one leg over my lap, so she was straddling me, hands on my shoulders. The fading light turned her eyes almost gold. Tell me to stop, she whispered, even though she already knew. I won't, I said. She kissed me, deep and certain. Not like a test, not like a dare, like a decision. When we finally broke apart, she rested her forehead against mine. This makes me happy, she said. You. Here. The work. All of it. Good, I said. Then that's what I'll keep giving you. She laughed quietly. You make it sound simple, she said. It's not simple, I answered. It's just right.